Don't nobody else make me feel like. Don't nobody else make me feel. Don't nobody else make me feel like. Don't nobody else make me feel like. Yeah. Don't nobody else make me feel like.
What is going on, team? Let's get this party started today. It is time for Tag a Bag Tuesday and a new day of trading. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. We actually are live here on YouTube as well with the Mavericks team in the Simpler Trading website. So if you're ever interested, come check me out on simplertrading.com under Stock Mavericks. But let's get this party started. We actually had 2 positions overnight. So we're going to dive right in. And then we have a main watcher that we're eyeing down to start the day, as well as a morning watch list that I start every single morning with. So every morning, if you're part of the community, I always like to prepare myself with a morning watch list that's found right here in the notes section. And you would click on morning watch list, and we have a wide variety of stuff here to start off Tag a Bag Tuesday. Every single Monday, if you missed it, I always post my weekly watch list. This week's Halloween. We got Halloween on Friday, so pretty excited for Halloween trading coming up. But there was a large list of sectors, listed stocks, options, and OTCs that I went over yesterday. So check that out if you would like. But today we're going to start off with what we're looking at as of right now. And we actually have 2 of these plays here overnight. So actually, let me highlight them in in green. The ones that are in green are the ones that we are in overnight. And we're looking for possible pushes to start the day. We decided to pick 2 OTC stocks because we also had a nice bag to start the week on this OTC stock, which is still a watcher, NWBO. But nice gap up from right here. We actually entered in, and we actually were able to sell it all the way up here. So that's a great start, and that's what we're looking for out of the 2 plays today, in XTRAF and HGRAF. With both of those, I'm going to stick with my cut, which my cut here is 56. I'll probably use 58 because 58.5 is the breakout, and this is a breakout play. And I only play patterns. I don't play stocks because I like the stock. This is a defense stock, and defense stocks are hot with all the wars, the drones, new fighter drones that are coming up. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the overall defense world, and war, unfortunately, is still happening in other countries. So XTRAF lands in that sector. It also is in the sector of scanning for dangerous objects in schools and in stadiums. You can see here, you have Coors Stadium over in the MLB for Colorado, and then you have some public schools that are also using this technology. So this is like a technology-based, defensive-based company that we decided to take only because it was breaking out and then it closed right at that breakout. So we usually would want that breakout to continue into today, and that's what we would look for, just like we got in NWBO yesterday. And then the other one that we decided to take was HGRAF. It touched the breakout yesterday, so I do want to stay a little more patient just to see if it can break out. And if it has a hard time there, then maybe I'll take the bag. But we're right at the breakout here, so hopefully we get some buyers to start the day there. And then diving into the rest of the morning watch list, my main watcher today is Beyond, because we've had a nice squeeze in meme stocks. It was actually exactly a week ago. Unfortunately, I missed last Tuesday's live trading with you guys because I was so focused on Beyond that day. It was actually this day when it was gapping up to here. So a week later, we're going to fill that gap down, which I hope we will. Looking for it to come back to 150 and possibly trying to buy around there. But we keep holding 175 here, and I want it to drop below 170. On the long-term chart, though, this was a beautiful run-up from 50 cents to 760, a squeeze that caused a big movement in all meme stocks, and we'll be watching other meme stocks if this bounces. And that's the rest of my list, really. We have the meme stocks DNUT, which is on that list. And then we'll get into this stuff as the day starts. The day is about to start right now, so I want to focus on just the 2 plays that we have overnight here. And we'll see if any of them can get a push for us but what they can get at the bell here. Good luck out there. Always remember to stay patient for your favorite setups. And I always like to say, stick to the plan. Let the plays play. And we'll see what we get here to start the day. All right, let's get it. So HGRAF starting up. So I'm going to use 270 as cut. XTRAF is trying to push 2. So if we drop below 270 in HGRAF, that's when I'll decide if I do want to take the bag. We're already up 10%, so it's nice to also take some on the way up. So I'm also debating on, swiping some out on the way up. If I do that, what I'll usually do is I'll put the limit in a little higher. See how you have the limit in at 274, just to make sure that buyers are still coming in. See, there you go. It just took that little bit, just that little piece though. And then XTRAF, we're going to stick with the cut here too and see if we could push. So it just actually took us at 276 for a little bit. We'll keep uptrending up here and playing the breakout. But HGRAF is a typical 52-week breakout in that pattern of that we look for. Honestly, beautiful play here. And it's continuing to push. So I'm going to try to keep staying patient here with the rest. Nice work, team, finding an overnight winner from yesterday to today. And for those of you guys that are brand new here on YouTube Live, this is what we're doing every single day. We're buying down here, starting to sell into strength, and that's always the goal. So sold a little bit into this strength here. Let's see if we could push any more or if we decide to sell a little more into this. But I am definitely happy with what we got this morning. I'm going to take a little bit more here. And then I'm going to leave a little bit on the table just in case we get a push. And I'm going to use 270 cut with the rest of it. But good work finding a winner there overnight. Actually, I'm going to clear out here. So 274. So nice work there. That is a way to clear out a couple $100 to start the day. A nice 10% morning in HGRAF. We're buying down here. And we still have this other one buying down. If it does come back down, because 60 was a hard, tough spot for it. So if it can't break 60, I think I'm also going to get out of this one. We might just I'll keep it. It's very, very slow. So we're good. Same with HGRAF. If you want to stay ping, you are your own boss. So you always want to let the winners win. And this one is starting off how you want it. So 270 cut would be perfect there. But I'm taking it. So great way to start Tag a Bag Tuesday. Let's keep adding the bags up this week. And honestly, that one isn't out of play. It's definitely still a 52-week breakout if you look at it. So don't completely take that out of play right now. I'm still watching this one. The volume absolutely stinks, so we might have to get out of it. Playing stocks with lighter volume doesn't usually work out, but the fact that this is a breakout is the only reason why I'm still holding it. And then 270 is the breakout here, so if you did like that, you can still hold there. But the only reason why I'm letting this hold at all, and I'm going to use 58 as cut, is because it is right at that breakout level. And support yesterday was that 58 level. So it's not looking the best. I was expecting more of a gap up there. The volume isn't the best, but it is what it is. We'll still take what we have here to start our day in HGRAF. And you never know. We might still get this push there. NWBO was very interesting yesterday. So NWBO was the one that we actually made money off of on Friday to Monday, but it was really weird. It had a huge buyer that came in that pushed it all the way up to 265 in the morning, and then it got sucked down with a huge seller, and then that seller just stood there at 259. And I don't know if it's gone yet. It might still be there at 259. So that's the reason why I have this on watch, but it's kind of been sideways. And until it gets above 2.6, I don't really like it. But I do think this play is going to be pretty good soon. Maybe we need to fill the gap first. And now I'm going to go down other stocks. So since we're watching a slower stock, like I said, 58's cut, we'll just stick to that. We're going to start looking at other things across the board, stuff on my morning watch list, opportunities that could possibly make us money this morning, add to our money. One thing I do want to highlight about this morning is we are profitable. We just made a couple $100 and we're up a little bit still in this one. So I'm also not, I always say psychology is just as big as trading, and you have to understand that having the hot hand is a real thing. And if you've been a gambler before, or if you've been in the casino, you know exactly what I mean by that. And that just means when you win, you want to stay and you want to keep winning. But that's really not how it should be, especially when it comes to trading too. You have those same emotions. And if you have that ability of always wanting to profit, you might have an issue with constantly trying to find winners and constantly trying to be in something. And that could be right now. Even though we already sold and made money, you want to constantly find that next fix to get in something. And what that is, it's just dopamine. And dopamine is very important to study. If you haven't heard too much about it, I would highly recommend you to check out Andrew Huberman's YouTube videos or podcast about dopamine. But they helped me understand trading a lot better. Just the in general definition of dopamine and what it means. So the fact that I was able to understand that even in life, that I anticipate things a little too much and I get excited for that anticipation. But that's all that is dopamine. Everybody has those feelings. So the one dopamine feeling that you want to try to avoid after you win is instantly trying to get that feeling back and putting yourself back into the position. Because if you think about trading, yeah, that dopamine boost and that feeling that you're getting, that all of us are feeling, that excitement and that ooh, this is going to be good, that actually disappears right when you press the sell button. So pretty interesting to hear. Once you press sell, you no longer have that rush of dopamine, even if you've won tons of money. So I've won, my biggest win ever was like 17 or 18,000 overnight. And then I kept trading that stock and I made like 24,000 in a day. And I literally was so excited when I pressed that sell button for it was like 10 minutes. I remember it lasted. And then it disappeared. And when it disappeared, it wasn't there. And I was searching for that feeling again. I didn't know what exactly it was. But now after studying, like I said, the Dopamine Project and Huberman, that really made me understand what I was going through in those times. And if you don't know what you're going through, sometimes you're just going to force yourself back into something so you can continue to feed that feeling. So that's a big thing to start this morning. But let's get into the morning watch list. I do understand that I have that feeling still with me, but I also need to find possible opportunities for either this morning or tomorrow. Or tonight, because tonight I'll come back at 2:45 and I make the overnight watch list. And that's where both of these stocks come from, number 1 and 2, from the overnight watch list I create every single morning or every single afternoon. The morning watch list is every morning. All right, so now that we've got into the plays, we'll keep watching this. If it comes below 59, I'm going to cut it. But if it keeps holding, I'm just going to keep holding. The volume's too light for me. It's just a little annoying. But at this point, I don't want to cut unless, like I said, we go back below the breakout. So let's get into all the other stuff that I was watching this morning. And it starts with Beyond. Beyond has been my number 1 watcher now from the beginning. Why is it my number 1 watcher? It's because, well, not from the beginning of this week. Why is it my number 1 watcher? It's because it squeezed from 50 cents to $7, and we took advantage of a little bit here. But I missed the short, and I think the short was such a great opportunity. And I'm very upset I missed the short, but there's ways to not be too upset and keep your head in the game. And that's what I'm trying to do now. So instead of getting upset about missing the short, I'm now trying to lick my fingers and get excited for a possible bounce opportunity because we have now fallen from 760 to 185. I don't like that we've completely double bottomed here. I was expecting one more drop, and I still do expect that drop, so I'm not going to buy today. But if we do drop, 170 today, there is a chance that I do buy today because I like to buy on dips usually, or if I'm going to play a first green day, which is a pattern that I'm looking to form here, which is the day I played this to here. We need at least 10% plus day, and right now we're only at 2%. It's not really a first green day, so now I'm looking more for a panic, and if that panic can hold up, then that turnaround is what we'll look for. But that is my main watch, and there's two situations with my main watch and beyond. Number one would be if it does panic, we're probably going to get a panic with all the other meme stocks, and I won't really watch the meme stocks. But number two is if this thing decides to go up, then there is a good chance that all the other meme stocks are probably going to start to push. And the first one that I thought was pretty nice was D-Nut, which is Krispy Kreme's donut. And we made some money off of this stock last week as well. But it's leveling out above 390. It hasn't really done anything too special if you look at it. But also, it's never really held for a couple days. Usually, it comes up, it holds, it drops. It comes up, it holds, it drops. And that's exactly right here what you're seeing. It's came up, and now it's just holding. It hasn't actually dropped. Unless it drops today or tomorrow, I think this is still in action for a possible big spike. And if Beyond Meat can spike, this would be one of our top watchers if we miss Beyond. So I always like to kind of look in other places just to understand what I'm looking for here. But Beyond would be the sector leader, and then Donut would be the next one. The next group of meme stocks, FLWS. Oh, that's making new 52-week lows, so actually we'll take that one out. GoPro, one that for sure leads into that direction. And another one that's kind of making multiple red days, but another one that's also holding if you look at it. And we're kind of holding this 190 area. We just spiked in this stock from $1 all the way up to 305. Well, it spiked from 70 cents to 305 with the meme mania, and now we're holding. So I like to put alerts up, and that usually prepares me. But these are definitely the main focus, I would say, to start the day here. I'm getting out of this XTRF here. So unfortunately, it couldn't hold. You gotta clear out here. HGRF, though, is making new highs, which is good to see. Nice move by HGRF, holding that 270 breakout and continuing to curl. Nice to see there. See if that'll continue its way up. But this is a typical 52-week breakout that is continuing. Technically, 270 was the breakout. So as long as it keeps holding that 270 spot, it could also be a possible situation for later. So maybe we'll check that out for later. Another one getting back into the morning watch list So now that we've gone over Beyond and Donut, the quantum stocks have been high watchers for a while. QSI has been one that's been holding in a range, looking for a nice bounce. We have QUBT and QBTS, which are usually the bigger runners, or QBTS is the bigger runner with RGTI. And those ones have been still uptrending. So can we get a bounce in quantum? The two I'll watch is QSI here and QUBT, which is trying to create a first green day after holding 1530 for a while. And then I always like to look at some OTC stocks. This is really where I started trading all the way back in 2016, 2015, 2014. I really loved the OTC market. So I'm going to bring this one up, but it isn't doing what I was looking for it to do. But TMRC, as you can see here, it has came from $3 down to $1. Almost every metal stock has fallen pretty hard. Look at UAMY. Look at CRML, TMQ. They've all come down pretty hard on the day. So with all of these coming down pretty hard on the day, the OTC stock did the same, or on the month. And now I'm looking for either a first bounce green day, which could be setting up here, or I'm looking for a possible panic back to 1, which I wanted more than the bounce green day. But we'll see what happens first. Right now, it's trying to set up. The volume is not there at all. But if we can panic a little bit, I think the volume is going to come in and we might get something out of it. So keep your eyes out on TMRC and all the metal stocks. But I have that on my weekly watch list. And I have a couple different sectors on my weekly watch list for bounces: quantum, metals, gold. Gold actually gapped down again today. So the gold bounce is probably going to be pretty good now that we keep getting gap downs. It looks like it's trying to bounce right now. Oh, no, just JNUG. But I always like to look at JNUG and GLD to kind of get a hold of gold. And look how far we've fallen from 204 to 130. But the run-up was just unreal. So it makes sense for these to fall. And maybe we can get some bounces there. What else do we got? Oh, wow, that LDDFF, the other defensive stock that we were looking at late in the day, actually gapped up really nicely. LDDFF, it's an OTC stock, but one that actually is starting up, brand new, had news recently. Looks like largest international airport for U.S. working screening. Maybe it starts up there. Let me put some alerts just in case it does get going. All right. And then the last couple of stocks that I have on here on my morning watch list, I put Nubo, but Nubo's literally been sitting sideways until it breaks 16. I don't trust it. But Lululemon and SOUN. And Lulu is an interesting one to me because it started to show some pop yesterday. And I had it on the weekly watch list even before it started this pop. But they came out with news with the NFL that they actually are partnering with the NFL and they are going to be coming out with Fanatics clothing with the NFL logos on it and all that good stuff. And that caused a spike from 178 all the way to 187. So pretty much a $10 spike in Lulu yesterday. And it's come straight down. It actually didn't really react well to that news. So I'm going to keep an eye on this one for sure. I think if we come back down to these support levels, it's not a bad idea. Or if we come back above 180. But I'm keeping an eye on Lulu. And why I like Lulu is if you look at it, it has a big gap down to fill. And that gap down is right here. And I always like to see gaps fill. And this would be from 180 all the way up to 197, 198. So it almost started to do that there on that pre-market move, but then it instantly just sold off. And it's been selling since, but I think it's a good one to keep an eye on. Markets are still holding. The QQQ and the SPY are bought by all-time highs. So there's no reason for us to be too nervous when it comes to those. But we'll see. I like that one. And then I like SOUN because SOUN's been holding 1750 for a while. And it looks like it's kind of just boiling up and ready to explode. So we've been holding 1750 now for 5 days. But also the 5 days before that, we've come down from $22. So we've came down and now we're consolidating. Usually what causes that next leg up is exactly that. So we'll keep an eye on those. And that really ends off my morning watch list. But that doesn't mean there won't be other opportunities out there today. I'll still be looking at other stuff. It's just this is the stuff that I usually start my day off and give myself a nice preparation. I think stock trading is very, very important for preparation. And if you don't prepare yourself too well, you might not do the best. So HGRIF is actually continuing a little more. Slower mover, but definitely one that we're going to watch for possibility later. Let me start scanning the field and see if there's anything else out there that I do like. Because I also, other than the morning watch list, I also like to go through my scanners. I like to go through different other watch lists to make sure that there's nothing else out there that's lining up either today for this morning or later on. Because later on, we will try to make another bag just like HGRAF. All right, so let me go through my scans and let's see if we can find anything here. How I like to go through my scans is what I'll do is I'll connect this chart here to my actual watch list charts. And I like to have a master watch list. And I'll just go down that master watch list to try to find some possible opportunity. You can see Wayfair with a big gap up today. That's pretty impressive for Wayfair. Up 20% today. Microsoft also had a big day to start off our day, gapping up 3%. Pretty big for Microsoft and right at the breakout levels. Beautiful to see. Ooh, open actually starting to look good. If this consolidates for another day or two, I actually like this. What else do we got? Let's go back to our main watcher for the morning, which is Beyond. And now it has started its bounce. So it ended up holding pretty nicely there. So now I start to look at DNUT, and we got to keep our eyes out. Beyond hasn't started up too much, but if it does start up, this is exactly where we want it to start watching and going after it. Damn, HGRF, I made a mistake selling a little too soon here. That 270 breakout was perfect. It actually came back and held it all morning and then took off. So from that 250 entry, you're close to 15% plus there. So that's what I love to see overnight. Let's see how much farther this can go here. But nice work there. Overnight winner. Good find. CCGA had some news with a nuclear company, nuclear deal with Westinghouse. So maybe we can get some other nuclear stocks to start to spike. I do have actually a nuclear watch list, so I'll go through that watch list right after this. But nice to see we got a big spike in the nuclear sector, which could definitely cause other nuclear spikers. RELI. Looks like they announced a special cash dividend. Oh, they added that Solana. So this is one of those Solana treasury stocks. Got a huge spike after hours after announcing that, and now it's holding. So keep an eye on that. We will keep our eyes there. Let me keep going down the list and see what else we got. No, that one's I'm not really interested in. Beyond up to 2. That's a nice watcher. CLZ. This is a light volume one, but this is an old OTC stock that's creeping up. What's the news here? FDA cleared clinical program. I don't know, nothing too special there, but it came up on my scanners as I'm going through. ONCY. This is the first green day with news. Looks like it has follow-up days. So usually when I'm scanning the field, I always like to look at the 1 year, 1 day chart. And why I do that is because I'm looking at the past history and I'm seeing, has this stock had follow-up days after first green days? And it looks like it has some. It doesn't have a lot, but it does have some. So I'll pull it up on one of my screens next to me and I'll keep scanning down the field. And now what I'm really doing is looking for stuff maybe that's lining up to gap up again tomorrow. Ooh, UURAF. This is actually a nice one. This is a metal stock that I've been waiting to bounce. I'm going to put this up next to me somewhere so I can keep that on watch. But this and TMRC are the two metals OTC stocks that I think are going to get some good bounces because they've come down so far. This one was from 1060 back to 4, and then TMRC was from 360, I think, or 302 back to 120. So big drops in those. We just need the sector to wake back up. The reason why the sector started the big spike was because TMQ got news that the government was going to take some stake in the company because they wanted to become a part of the rare earth, rare material sector. And that's the whole reason why we got this spike. So this is kind of, in a way, the leader. But we've had bigger runners. CRML also had rumors that they were going to get the news with the government, and they actually spiked from 6 to 32. And then UAMY was another one that went absolutely nuts, and it went from 6 to 19. So now we just look for the possible bounces. And UAMY is showing a green candle, but nothing too special just yet. All right, so I'm going to go through a couple more scans. If anybody here has any watch list or anything that they want to talk about or any stock that they think might be a possibility, let me know. This is a new stock, FRMI. ARBK is a former running Bitcoin one. I usually like this one if it can hold. Bitcoin stocks have been having small turnarounds because Bitcoin also had a decent bounce over the weekend. So maybe we can look at some Bitcoin ones. I'm going to pull up our ARBK up here just so I can keep my eyes on it. And then another one I think that might make the leg up, I just got an alert for it, but we were talking about it earlier, is Open. I think if Open makes that next leg up, we might look for this one for a breakout later too. So I want to put some alerts up here just in case it does make that next leg. But that's what we'll be looking for there. Trying to see if there's anything else I like. This is another metals one. It's way lighter volume, but you can see how much the metal stocks have dropped. This is from 190 all the way back to 1. Maybe we can double bottom at 1. So I like to put my alerts all over stocks that I think could possibly do something. This is a meme stock, Noodles and Company. There's actually storefronts across the US, so you might have actually tried one of these. They got a spike when Beyond got a spike, but it's come down since. But maybe if Beyond gets a big enough spike, right now I think this small spike's not doing it enough. And that's why I wish it panics more, and I still do. I'm still rooting for it to come down more. Because in my opinion, if it does, I think we're going to get better volume. The volume's kind of dying out right now. I think not as much people are interested in it. This day was $10 billion in volume. $10 billion. We're at 200 million right now. So it's amazing how much volume was able to go through this, but also notice that we're slowing down a little bit. And that's probably why we're not moving as much. But it definitely will be our main attraction all day today as I continue through my Tag a Bag Tuesday. This stock has earnings tomorrow after the bell. But this is an oil stock, and oil stocks randomly started up a little bit last week. So it's the only reason why I have this on my watch list right now is because that oil sector started. Let me go through 2 more watch lists here. I'm going to go through my nuclear watch list as well because I want to see if there's any possible nuclear plays. FRGT. All right, looks like it's got some big news. KRKNF, we made some good money off of this one. Maybe it could create another breakout after consolidating for a little bit. Wow, WULF, huge breakout. It looks like they've come out with earnings. Earnings and news for Wolf. This one's pretty strong. It's a clear breakout. We want to see it hold the breakout, so we want to see it hold 16, 16, 16, 16, 15. But if it does do that, Wolf is definitely one that we could possibly play for later, I feel like. Let me put this one on the watch. All right, good find there. Pony, Pink Pony Club, another AI stock that's bouncing. Looks like Uber is going to invest in Hong Kong listing of Pony. So I think Pony AI is like a self-driving car in China. And it looks like we're getting a nice spike here. I'm going to put some limits now and beyond because at this point it's coming back down. But if it does rip back up and creates the first green day, I think we are going to have to try it. So I'm going to put some limits up by 210, 213. If we could come back up, we need to find a nice base here. But if we can find a nice base, maybe this will be the first green day. I'm not going to play it right now. Typically for me, I call midday a time to be patient usually, and that's usually 10:30 a.m. Eastern or right around 10:30, 11, all the way until 2:30 p.m. Eastern. So there is a nice little 3-hour gap, which I actually just went to Spain, and they live a great life over there. They actually have a thing called siesta where they disappear for 3 hours. They take a little break between 3 and 6, and it's a very similar trading lifestyle. I mean, they do that to relieve stress, so it's not as stressful of a day, and they can kind of enjoy themselves throughout the day. And trading kind of is like that too. I mean, there's always times that you could sit here and make money all day, but usually if things aren't hot and there isn't a hot sector, there isn't really hot, big moving stocks, I wouldn't really recommend that. Usually I recommend to go enjoy yourself and come back and be ready to roll when the more important times are here. I always like to bring it back to the taxi analogy, the taxi cab analogy. And what that means is the taxi cab driver that just drives every day to make $200, no matter what, is probably going to work every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, to make that $200. And on Mondays, it's going to take him way longer than it does on Fridays. It'll take him like 8 hours to do it on Mondays, but on Fridays, he can do it in 2 hours. And the smart person, the smart taxi driver, also the smart trader, would only show up on those hot days, which is Friday, and he'd work for 4 hours, and that would cover his whole, or he'd work for 8 hours, and that would cover his whole week instead of him having to do Monday through Friday. And then he could take off Monday to Friday. So it's all the same. It's the same analogy here with when things are cold, usually it's a lot easier to lose money, but when it's hot, you do want to be around and you do want to be firing. So that's more what I was kind of putting it in there. And I think right now we do have stuff that's moving, but I think we're still in some sort of consolidation with a lot of sectors, quantum sector, Bitcoin sector, metal sector. It seems like a lot of them have been kind of popping for the past 2 months, and now they're kind of calming down a little bit, which is fine with me because that's usually what makes that next leg up. And it also keeps you aware to keep watching the stocks as they move, or to keep watching the sectors as they move. And right now, I'd say one of the top sectors today is the metal sector. If we can hold until the end of the day, and some of these other ones can do that too, and maybe go green, which all of them are, a lot of them are red, then I would start to trust some of these other ones that we think are going to bounce, like the OTC ones like UURAF or like TMRC. UURAF actually has volume, so that would be the one right now. Oh, look, TMRC's up 10% now too. So they're both creeping. This one doesn't have volume, but UURAF does right now. You can see it's at already 1.3 million. So we'll see how we deal with this here. But I think this could be a possibility overnight. And I'm going to pretty much, because I only have about 10, 15 more minutes here. So I'm going to leave you guys off because I don't want to leave you off stranded. Since we didn't buy anything this morning, we did make a little money, but we're looking to also continue to grow the account. Trading is an everlasting thing. That's the crazy thing about trading. A lot of people would really get excited when they do something really good in life, but in trading, when you do something really good, you unfortunately have to remember it, note it down, and then move on to the next, because they always say you're only as good as your next trade, because it's not like the stock market just ends. Once you make that big win, your money's there. Are you going to continue? Usually you will. So then what will you do from there? So it's always an everlasting thing. Try not to get too excited daily. Obviously, when you have wins, I always recommend to reward yourself. And you are your boss here. You're the only boss when it comes to trading. You are your own boss. So you are the one patting yourself on the back, telling yourself you did a great job. And it's important for you to do that because it can get really lonely. So NAC is another metal stock that's creating a decent little day. So across the board, it looks like we got some metal movement. We'll see by the end of the day if these can be the holders. And then Tesla actually making that next leg up. Will it break out? If it breaks out, there's a list of EV stocks that I always like to watch. Yesterday, Rivian was getting a little spike. Looks like it didn't really follow up too much. But Plug and BLNK are always ones that I like to watch, and these two are both just sitting sideways for a while. And then one of my biggest wins ever was an EV stock that actually turned to an AI stock, but FFAI, they used to be called FFIE. And they haven't really done much since. That's why I have all these alerts up here. Let me X these out. But yes, I was playing it all the way in the threes not too long ago either. All right. But nice to see that. Now I got one more scan. I'm going to do my nuclear scan, and then I got one more scan after that. And that's pretty much going to finish off our morning here. Profitable green morning so far. We're still holding the one stock. It's this lighter volume one, so I'm trying to see if it can curl at all. But if it does come back to 5.6, I'm going to get out. Which, if you look, that was the original support yesterday. All right, so going down the last couple of lists I have, I'm going to look at my nuclear list, and then I'm going to look at my OTC list, and then we'll finish it off there. What's GPUS doing? So NNE, nothing too special. It's trying to pop. Okay, LO is another one. So it doesn't look like anything's too special. It just looks like CCJ got that big move. LITM. Oh, no, this is lithium. Is it LTUM? I know there's another. I don't know which one it is, but there is one other nuclear one. And then to finish it off here, I'm going to do my last OTC scans. I always like to scan there. It's a lighter morning, it looks like. I usually can tell that by my scanners. My scanners will usually show me how much stuff is up certain percentage on the morning. And right now it's only showing 100 something, which usually there's 400 plus stocks that are up in the morning if it's a decent day. So usually I'll get a feel just from my watch list if things are hot or not. I don't know what this is. This must be a brand new OTC stock. I've never seen that before. Makes sense. Grill It. This was the first stock I've ever traded ever. Always beautiful to see. MP, I just got an alert, and MP is the metal sector leader. I just got an alert for it, meaning we might be uptrending. So lovely to see. UURAF, the same thing. It's creating that first green day, and TMRC is too. So we got to keep our eyes on those. These ones could easily be really big plays later. So I definitely don't want to put those off of your watch list. And then let me see if there's anything else here. Before I leave here in the next 3 minutes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up all the stocks that I think are pretty interesting for possibilities for later. Reemp's another one. Looks like they're all bouncing together. Tesla making new highs. And so is Bitcoin. I love it. We're getting some pretty big bounces all across the board. If you ever want to look at Bitcoin, it's /BTC on here. And then Tesla. And if you want the cheaper version of Tesla, it's TSLL, which is the ETF you can buy, which is also up 5% today, 4%. All right, so besides what we already have, which we have a decent list of stuff, let's see what we're going to have as our watchers here. And HGRIF, I have to keep on watch. It came back down to where we sold it. So I always like to say, you know, you got to take your profit. We could have stayed a little more patient, but nice to see. I think that UURAF is going to be the next one that we'll focus on. So we'll keep this up right here. TMRC is going to be another one. ARBK is a small first green day for Bitcoin. I'll put Reemf on here too, because that's another one. And I'll keep Wolf up too. So we got a lot of metals bounces. I think that's going to be one of my main focus today, as well as Beyond. I got to get Beyond on here. There we go. So I pretty much have everything on here ready to roll for possibilities for later. We do need a little more out of the bounce here. Let me actually, I gotta put this one still up since we're in it. But I'll keep TMRC right here. And ARBK I'll put over on the side. All right, so these are the main watchers here. I like the metal stocks, and you could keep watching MP2 for metals. So UURAF, beautiful first green day that just started off, and that one's more than due. It's put on the weekly watch list. We also have MP, that's the sector leader, move making its way up. So then I gotta watch TMRC and REEF. These are the lighter volume ones that we'll keep an eye on. Beyond, I'm gonna keep watching for that 210 break. If it does break 205, 210, and then 213, I think a first green day is gonna be an effect here. So keep an eye on that. Wolf is another one, WULF. It's a clear breakout and it has news. The breakout 1616, and we have limits there. So if it keeps holding the breakout by the end, that's another one that's definitely a possibility. Anything else out there that we like? Let me just go across the board, make sure there's nothing else out there. Do you guys have any questions or tickers? Let me see. Looks like we have a good group of people in here today. Love to see that. Love to see it. Nice. All right, it looks like we got some bags, but nothing really else that's too significant that anyone's bringing up. I think we've already gone over what's hot on the week and what's not. Let me look on the YouTube and see if anybody on YouTube has any questions or anything. All right, no. I think that's where we're going to leave it off, guys. So great work this morning on something as well. And honestly, those plays, HRF could still be a play for later. All these other plays are without a doubt still in. Metal stocks are my favorite as of right now. We've been waiting for this bounce for a while. If you aren't subscribed to the team, you can in the simplertrading.com website under Stock Mavericks. And the weekly watch list is posted every Monday morning. And this weekly watch list has that metal sector ready to roll. Ooh, what's ARRNF doing? Sorry. This is an FL pretty hard. Ooh, it hasn't even moved yet. I'll keep an eye on this one. ARRNF has been one I've been watching for a while now. And it came right back to look at that, the spike level. So this could actually be a perfect spot to bounce off of. So ARRNF, a lot of F ones. But that's where we're going to finish it off, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed YouTube. Click that subscribe button if you liked it. I'm doing it every Tuesday. Much love to you. Great work tagging the bags. And let's find another bag from one of these plays later. But the beauty about the market is you never know. I could come back later, complete a complete different group. That's why I love trading. All right, everybody, stay safe out there. Keep tagging bags. And I'll see you later.